I'm Brian Van, sportbiketracker.com, and today we're going to install a set of CL XBK5 brake pads on the front of our 2014 Yamaha FZ-09 STG Project Bike. Okay, a little premature on the brake pad change here, but I think this will be a really helpful video for a lot of FZ-09 riders out there. The CL XBK5 is one of our most popular street compounds. Great super sport level pad, great stopping power, no fade, right? They're good in the cold, good in the hot, they're good when they're wet, they're good when it's dry, and they are not noisy brake pads, so a great choice for a bike like the FZ. What do we need to do this? A couple of hand tools, right? I need some brake cleaner. I want to clean the caliper pistons really nice. We obviously need our new brake pads, okay? Speed bleeder bag and hose kit, because what I like to do is I like to clean the caliper piston, right? Pull the caliper off, clean the piston, and actually open the bleeder screw before I push the pistons back. I think that is the best way to do it. It ensures you're not going to get any of the debris that is on the piston itself in between the dust seal and the square cut seal, so it really protects your caliper. How are we going to begin this process? Well, the first thing that we need to do is we're going to need to loosen the bleeder screw. I want to make this just easy to open when I'm ready. So we'll loosen that and just snug it up, just finger tight, just to make sure that we'll do that easily. We're going to loosen up our caliper mounting bolts. Pretty basic procedure. Something that's really important to know. Breaking the brake pads in. I know you think, hey man, I just put new brake pads on, I'm gonna go out there and I got new brakes, this thing's gonna be perfect, right? How brakes work is you need to transfer friction material, okay, from the rotor from the brake pad to the rotor. That's really how it works, okay? And it takes time to break that in. Once you've installed these, you need to take this motorcycle out and give yourself much increased stopping distance and wear them in very slowly. You'll feel with every stop that these come in more and more and more, right, until they're 100%. How long does it take? It depends on realistically how many stops that you hit with it. You know, you're gonna need yourself, you know, multiple stops to really dial these in. So don't put yourself in any kind of panic or race style braking situation until you have the brakes seated in. I'm going to go ahead and slide that caliper off, like so, okay? Just going to let that kind of chill out for a minute. There's different schools of thought now with rotors, right? And at the end of the day, what do you need to do with this rotor? We're changing the compound of pads. I've done it a number of ways. I've sanded them before, lightly. I've cleaned them off. I've also done nothing and had good results. This is a relatively new bike. We've got maybe 1,000 miles on it. So it's in great shape. There's really not a lot to do here, you know, necessary to the rotors. You know, what you could do at a minimum perhaps would be, you know, just to clean it a little bit. How necessary is this? You know, we could argue about that all day. You know, it's going to be like arguing, you know, the benefits of which brand oil to use, okay? So just a quick wipe off, I think that's going to be more than sufficient. Okay, now getting to actually changing the pads themselves. The first thing I want to do is I want to get this pad retaining pin out. So on the Yamaha here, we have 2 pins that we need to pull, 2 cotter pins. We've got those both pulled out. And then we need to get this pin here pulled out, and once we've done that, I may need to get something to give myself just a little bit of a push here because it is being retained a little bit by the spring. It's kind of held in there a little tight. If you push on that spring a little bit and grab the end of it, you can kind of get a hold of it. Takes the pressure off it, and out comes the pin. You can see this stuff is pretty dirty. As compared to the rears, a lot of brake dust up here in the front, okay? These pads are in perfect shape. We're really doing this just, you know, it's a little slight performance upgrade, and it's also really for the benefit of the installation video. Okay, now, I'm going to go ahead and use our brake cleaner. Different schools of thought here too. Some folks, they like to use like a, you know, like more of a soap and water base. Throughout my entire mechanical career, I've always used this type of brake cleaner. I've never had it damage any brake seals, and I continue to use it to this day with really good results. So, but once again, that's a personal choice. You could also mix up, some mild soap and water and do this very same thing and kind of scrub it. It doesn't hurt to just kind of drag this around the piston a little bit. Get some of that debris loosened up that won't just simply spray off there. At the end of the day, you want to make those caliper pistons as clean as possible. And I'm going to give them another rinse. Okay, you can see a lot of dirt there. Okay, a lot of dirt, guys. Now, we'll go ahead and grab a hold of our speed bleeder bag and hose kit. Slide that over the bleeder screw. And open the screw. The caliper pistons will push back with relative ease once that screw is open, because it allows the fluid to simply just evacuate right into the speed bleeder bag. What's also good about this is you're not forcing it into your master cylinder up at the top, right? So you're just actually, the worst fluid is typically going to be down here in the calipers because that's where the heat is, right? So you're pushing all of that bad fluid out into the bag and hose kit rather than forcing that and perhaps any debris that would be present up into your master cylinder. So this is something that I really recommend doing when you service your brakes. I'm going to go ahead and cap this off for the time being. When we're done with this procedure, we're also going to go ahead and bleed the brakes. If you're changing brake pads, you need new brake fluid too. You should be changing that pretty much at the same time. And we will do that, of course, on our project bike here. And last cleanup there. Got our new pads here. Our pad retainer clip, I'm going to give this just a quick spray off as well. And this is going to ride in position, right, like so. Slide the pads in place. Gotta get that pin threaded through here, right? Through the retainer clip, through the other pad, like so. And then through the other side of the caliper. And once we have that done, we'll go ahead and put in place the actual cotter pins that hold everything in place so it cannot come out when you're out riding the motorcycle. There we go. Slip right through now. Our two little pins here. Whenever I slide that through, I try to make sure the holes are facing in an upward direction, so I can easily get the cotter pins in, like so. Clean rotor, new pads, clean caliper, pistons back. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and slide this into place. I'm not going to tighten these bolts right now. Okay. As we go through this process, and I am done replacing the pads on the other side, we're actually going to take this motorcycle off of this work stand I'm going to show you a little trick that I like to use before I tighten the calipers down. When we come back, I'm going to have serviced the other side, same way that I did it here. It's the exact same process, right? Clean the rotor, clean the caliper pistons, push them back, the whole deal. We're going to have this thing off the stand, and we're going to show you how we finish the brake pad replacement on the FZ-09. All right, I've got the brake pads on both sides. Remember, the caliper bolts are loose on both sides. You see I've got it off the stand, and I decided to put it up on my pit bowl front and rear stands. Before I tighten the caliper bolts, right, what I want to do is I just want to get everything set nice in the front end. And how I like to do that is I'm going to start by, I got to pump this up a little bit because I have the pistons out until I start to get a lever. Okay, good, got that. Now, I'm going to spin the wheel a couple of times like that, and I'm going to hold the brake applied while I tighten up the caliper bolts. Once again, if you want to use a torque wrench, consult the internet. Google is your friend. Google torque specs for the front calipers on this bike. They will be readily available, right? Personally, I'm just going to use this 3/8 ratchet. And make sure everything is good and even. Our last step is going to be to bleed the brakes, you know. We've replaced the brake pads, right? We got the calipers all clean. And brake fluid is something, in my opinion, should be serviced at least once a season on your motorcycle. Important. First thing we're going to do is we're going to have a look at our fluid level here. Reservoir cover off. Our sight glass cleaned up a little bit. Clearly see there's fluid in there right now. Take a look at this, be ready to add to it. We will use our speed bleeder bag and hose kit to do this and keep it super clean. All right. End of the day, the fluid that's in there is not really horrible, right? But it is the right move to change it. This bike doesn't have very many miles on it. It's only 1 year old. And realistically, if this is something that you do annually on your bike, it's never really going to get nasty inside of there, and that is the best case scenario. Go ahead and take the cap off of the bag and hose kit. Get that over the bleeder screw here. You can do either side first, it really doesn't make much difference. Go ahead and open the screw, press and hold the lever, close the screw. Release lever, open screw, press, hold. The idea here is, we just want to pretty much evacuate the master cylinder and the lines. You want to get every bit of that old fluid, right? You want to get it out of there. And the easiest way to do that is to just open the screw, squeeze, hold, close. This method should really prevent any air from entering the system for the most part. And if it does, we will clean that up as we go through and bleed the brakes. Before I go to the other side, I'm going to take a look at my fluid level here. You really don't want to run this dry while doing this, so we're going to go ahead and top that bad boy off. I'm going to move to the other side of the motorcycle. You take that hose off nice and slowly. You can do that without really making a mess at all. And now we'll do this side. Same procedure. Open the screw, press lever, hold. go ahead and top it off once more. We're going to change our procedure just a little bit. Make sure we get all the air out. So what we're going to do here is I'm actually going to pump and hold the lever. Holding the lever. I'm going to open the screw. Lever will come to the bars, then I'll release. I'll repeat this a few times. And then we'll go to the other side and repeat the process. Pop up and just take a quick look at my fluid level here. Still good to go. Make sure the screw is tight. Remove that slowly so the fluid can run down into the bag. We do have a little brake fluid here on top of the bag. Let me get some cleaner. Clean that before it creates any issues. As long as you get it off early, you'll never have an issue, right? So get that cleaned off. Fluid level is right where I want it. Go ahead and get the bladder in place here. Make sure you've got the bladder and the seal installed properly. If you don't, this can create an issue. Obviously, create a situation where we have a leak, and that is something that we definitely do not want to happen. Backing. So. This is definitely being a little to the difficult side here, but we're going to be patient because this needs to be right. Okay, there we go. That's perfect. So take your time with that. Make sure that you've got that thing on there perfectly. Okay, the last thing you want to do when you're maintaining your bike is to create a service issue when all you're trying to do is take good care of it. Okay, so we got that seated on there nicely. Go ahead and get our screwdriver. All right, once this is all tight, we're good to go. We're going to go ahead and take the motorcycle out, break in the pads, and we'll have brand new brakes on our FZ-09 for the upcoming.